Hey, how's it going, folks? Well, just got back from watching Fighting with My Family, the movie based around the life of WWE superstar Paige. The movie was great. I wouldn't say it was like fantastic or amazing, but it was great, and I really enjoyed it. Obviously, coming from a wrestling fan, there's different things within the movie that just don't go along the real timeline of Paige's rise from, coming from England all the way to the United States, and her running on the indie scene first and then coming into developmental with FCW, NXT, and then eventually on the main roster. So I'm going to try to give this review not really biased on the fact that the timeline maybe doesn't match up 100%, but as a movie, as a WWE Studios movie, this was obviously one of the best WWE Studios movies that have ever come out. Obviously, it's got a lot of attention from mainstream media. The theater I went to at first, there was, maybe about 6 or 7 people in the theater. And I thought to myself, okay, this isn't going to be good as far as the theater goes. And then the theater filled up. There was obviously a few seats here and there, but for the most part, it was a packed house for the movie. The movie does begin as Paige and her brother Zach are young children. Obviously they're just kind of mimicking and fighting amongst themselves as they are big fans of the WWE. The family does have their own wrestling organization, and Paige's dad is basically an ex-convict. Her mom used to be homeless, and all they have is the family's business, running the wrestling business. Paige's brother Roy is in prison. Paige's brother Zach is somebody that she does look up to, and there is a number of children who do come for weekly wrestling training at the family's wrestling gym. And this is something that isn't uncommon in the UK when it does come to professional wrestling. A lot of stars do start when they are young in the UK. I know some of the current NXT UK stars, some of them started as young as 13, 14. So that is true. And basically, there is a tryout for the WWE at the O2 Arena. This is the famous scene where Paige and her brother Zach do meet The Rock. In the trailer, they do play it. In the actual movie, it is much longer. The scene, it is much funnier as well. And then after the tryout, Paige is the one who does get the offer to go to developmental while her brother does not. This is not good for her brother, as basically this causes her brother to become depressed, I should say, about the whole situation. While Paige moves to the US, the family sends her off, and then she just doesn't fit in. She has her own place there. She's young, and she is among other wrestlers who used to be maybe cheerleaders or models, and she just doesn't fit in, and she doesn't really make friends right away. Actually, she begins to make enemies with the fellow ladies, and then from there, she just can't make it as far as her ability goes with the training. She leaves to go home for Christmas, and she can't even tell her parents that she isn't going back to the United States, as it will break their heart. But eventually, she does go back to the US after a talk with her brother, who was fairly jealous this whole time of her success. But then he finds out that, this was her dream as well. She goes back to the US, and then eventually she does get invited to WrestleMania. Her and other folks within the NXT division get invited to WrestleMania. She's brought to an office where The Rock is there, and The Rock calls her family and tells them, tomorrow your daughter will be debuting on the main roster on Raw. And then from there, she just doesn't know what to do. She's very nervous, and the next day at Raw, her whole family is watching from England, and she won't even leave the dressing room when they're telling her it's time for her to come out. And then finally, she leaves the dressing room. She comes out, and she freezes on the microphone. And from there, she is facing AJ Lee, who is the current Divas champion, and she ends up beating AJ Lee in the final scene of the movie. She wins the Divas title, and that is the movie. Obviously, there's a lot of more in between. That is a quick review of what went down in Fighting with My Family. We do have some cameos from some other wrestlers, including The Miz. We have a short cameo also from Sheamus and The Big Show. And Vince Vaughn does a wonderful job as the trainer for NXT. Obviously, when it comes to timelines, like I said earlier, the timeline of Paige's actual career was a little bit different than they did portray in the movie. But overall, this movie was great. I really enjoyed it. My wife also enjoyed it, who did go out and watch it with me. I'm not 100% sure how many folks in the movie theater were like hardcore WWE fans, or they just wanted to see, a feel-good movie. And I can just say that this is one of those movies that does have a lot of aspects in it, where you get the comedy aspects, you get the feel-good aspects, and you also do get some of the drama and some of the serious undertones there. So, great movie. If you haven't seen it yet, obviously I would go out and see it, even if you were spoiled by some of my review. And as always, don't forget to DDT that like button and subscribe. Join the notification squad to be notified of new videos, and have a great day.